Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome back in today's class. Today we are on the day number 17. Okay, so if I say almost that 50% class has been over now. We are here now, 31st. Okay, on the first one. So we are on the day number 17 now. Okay. Now what we are discussing about, if I come here on the book directly. So yesterday we started discussion that boss, what is the life cycle of a requirement, that how the requirement will be traced, how the requirement will maintain, how the requirement will prioritize, and finally it get approved. So till yesterday or in the yesterday session we completed the tracing part. Okay, मैं कैसे देख सकता हूँ कि मेरे requirements कहाँ move हो रहे हैं, उनका what is the relationship they are building with the solution components. What are the techniques I need to do that पर जिसमें हमने UMS देखे, BPN देखे, हमने process modeling देखा और component जो modeling हमने किया था वो हमने देखा. So these are the major techniques which we use here. Now you got the requirement, you are able to trace that. Now the question comes how I can maintain them. Maintain means if any changes are coming, is any plus and minus is happening, how this can be taken care of. So this is the topic for our today's discussion. So what this is to retain the requirement accuracy and consistency through and beyond the chain during the entire requirement. Now let's take example. I am working as a BA. Okay, I got a requirement from the customer. I created a user story. I discussed with developer. He gave me estimation points and development started. Now client again gave me after 2 or 3 days gave me a requirement changes on he proposed some changes in the same requirement. I go to the story, I update the requirement, but I did not discuss with the developer. I did not go through the estimations. When the sprint is getting over, developer say, boss, I developed this story. Can you please test at your side, the basics one? I started, the story fail. I said, you did not develop this properly. He says, what do you mean properly? I said, see what writing written in the story. Then developer says, sorry, it was not earlier. It means the accuracy or the consistency is not there. You are changing the requirement at any given point of time, which causing an issue for me as a developer. So this is once a requirement has been fully signed off, you should not alter that requirement. Better create a new requirement and follow the life cycle. That is the important point here. So in this case, a requirement that represent an ongoing need must be maintained to ensure it remains valid over the time. Yeah, if I say in other words, the requirement which you are going to be built should be valid in the whole system. ठीक है, हाँ होता है कि 5 साल 8 साल 10 साल के बाद वो रिक्वायरमेंट फिजिबल नहीं है या सॉरी फिजिबल नहीं वैलिड नहीं है. लेट्स टेक एग्जांपल, approximately 5 or 8 years back, it is required that your phone must have a 2G or 3G. But अब वो concept खत्म हो गया. Now the requirement is that your phone must have 4G or 5G or maybe 6G or some other technology which has been coming. So when the phone development was going on during that time period, that was a requirement and they maintain it as a consistency. कि बॉस ये requirement valid रहेगा, it will be valid for a longer time. But now when they start developing again a new phone, the 2G wala requirement is not more valid. It become 5G, 4G, 6G, something like that. Okay, so in this topic we are going to be discussing that how to maintain the requirement, and the benefit is that consistently represented. Ki by putting the requirement and maintaining the requirement in a proper manner, you are able to consistently represent के boss हमने ये build किया है. And what they say, review and approve for the maintenance using a standardized process. Process improvements कैसे होती हैं? via maintaining the requirements. You go and check your previous requirements, and on the top of that you find the gaps, and then you create a new requirements for the same. ठीक है, तो ये is a purpose of this maintenance of requirement. Now what is the life cycle it says? Okay, or what is the input output diagram? You should have a requirement. Yes, I'll must say that you should have a confirmed requirement. You have a design, a confirmed design. You should use the information management approach. Maintain करो और आपके requirements और design दोनों maintain होंगे. ठीक है, मतलब इसी के inputs को हमने confirm से maintain में डाल दिया. Now what are the parameters? What are the life cycle of this part? Element number 1, maintain the requirements. Same words the book is saying again. Requirements are maintained so that they remain correct and current after an approved change. Means once you go to the workshop, once you get the requirement, it get approved, then it should be considered as the correct. कि बॉस इसमें जो लिखा है वो तो वही बनाना ही बनाना है. Business analysts are responsible for conducting the maintenance to ensure the level of accuracy is retained. अब मुझे पता है कि भाई मेरे आने वाले टाइम में मुझे अगले स्प्रिंट में 5 or 7 requirements I need to be work upon. It's my responsibility that I start maintaining them. We start discussing with the customer, boss, this is what we are going to build. Generally I'm talking from the agile perspective, but in the requirement gathering workshop, once you get the clear-cut picture that what we have to be developed, so I have to maintain that part. Guys, we're going to build this thing. Is it fine? Any changes required? All the things will be there. Okay. For the requirement to be properly maintained, they must be clearly named and defined, easily available to the stakeholders. So in this, basically what we are doing, we are building one kind of a Excel sheet, one kind of a repository, that these are the approved and correct requirements. So in short, if I say what is the meaning of the maintain requirement, means something which you are taking care now. If I own one house, till the time it is not purchased, it is not documented, I'm not responsible anything for the maintenance part. The builder will be responsible. As soon as I pay the amount and registry has been done on my name, then I have to maintain it. Now, if you want to maintain it, you will make sure that there should not be any color or the sketches be done on the wall. You should take care that door should be closed politely. Otherwise it can be break. You should make sure that cleaning of the house will be done on time. Either it's electronic components, your fans, your tube lights, bulbs, the balcony should be cleaned in the proper manner. So that tomorrow, if you want to sail out, you should say that, boss, see, I maintained this completely. So that is the maintenance concept here. Okay. Now, once you start this thing, what I can say, maintain requirement, you have a maintain attributes. Attributes basically क्या होते हैं? Attributes means something which tell about other thing. Like if I give example, boy with 37 age with the white beard, name ending with Kamble, having a staying in Pune. So now if you listen these words, what I'm saying, I'm talking about someone जिसका नाम end हो रहा है काम्बले से. ठीक है, मतलब ये जो नेम है उसका, जो सरनेम है, that is one attribute. He is wearing jeans and t-shirt. So I'm talking about a male person here. जो 37 या 35 ईयर का है, जिसकी beard white हो चुकी है. So these are the attributes which define any other person. हम कहते हैं ना, अगर क्या है, there's a in Hindi there's a word called a संज्ञा, noun. किसी नाम, व्यक्ति, वस्तु, स्थान को हम संज्ञा कहते हैं. So like when I say I'm talking about Atul, what is the Atul's attribute? My name, my father name, my surname, my address, my blood group, my gender, my color, my qualification, my salary, my company, my skills, my hobbies. These are the attributes of mine. So in the same manner, while electing requirements, business analysts elect the requirement attributes as well. What it says, such as requirement source. कि आ कहाँ से रही है requirement है? Is it I'm getting from the document? Is it I'm getting from the works with the focus group? Is I'm getting from the workshop or what? Then what is the priority of that requirement? In case of implementation, what is the complexity of that requirement? So in short, when you add few of the components which help you to identify your requirement, then it is called the maintain attributes. Tomorrow, if someone says, guys, please add the milestone as well, it is again one of the attribute for me. Just add one more column called the sprint. It become attribute for me. So you have to make sure that from the time to time basis, you maintaining the attributes. As I know, when you're getting the requirements, you mark any requirement as a priority 2, but somehow you delete that priority 2 and it is now blank. Now, if you search, you will not find that requirement in the priority list because attribute has been missing. So it is my work. Like when I have a story in my backlog, every week I check that how many stories are there, what is the priority has been given by the stakeholders, so that I can discuss, I can pick up the stories when I want to go for the sprint planning. Reusing the requirement. What this says basically, there is a situation in which requirements can be reused. जैसे requirement that are candidates for the long-term use by the organization are identified, clearly named, defined, and stored. Let me give you an example. Okay. In ServiceNow, we have a mobile agent app as well. Okay. In one of my previous project, there's a team who was working on that. Okay. In the phase 1, they configure the mobile agent app for the incident management. Okay. Now they reach out to me, Atul, do you want to do it for the problem management as well? I said yes. Now, instead of putting my thought process or my mind from the basic one, I said, okay, you guys develop this for the incident. Can you give me the steps or the highlights that what you develop? In that, the first point was activate the mobile agent app plugin. Now this is a reusing of the requirement, because if I want to use the agent app for problem management, then I also need that plugin to be activated. So this is called the reusing the requirement. And sometimes we use that part. We do this part. कि boss मुझे क्यों दोबारा सा requirement लिखनी? Let me try to reuse that part. So out of approximately 20 steps of the incident management, I got 5 or 6 again for the problem management as well. So now they're saying when you want to reuse the requirement, you can consider these parameters. Maybe with the current initiative, with a similar initiative, with a similar departments, or maybe valid for the throughout the organization. मतलब जैसा development, जैसा product implementation मैंने department A के लिए किया, same will go for the department B as well. So this is called the reusing of the requirement, requirement. In this case, design also get be reused. Okay, we are doing this part, but not properly. Now, what are the guidelines and the tools for this information management approach? It says how requirement will be managed for the reuse. Means are you maintaining in Excel sheet? Are you maintaining in any tool? How you'll be writing that it can be reused, not reused, some prefix, some suffix, what type of things you'll be using? That depends here. Now, what are the techniques to maintain the requirement? The number one, which we discussed yesterday, business rule analysis. It says used to identify business rules that may be similar across the enterprise in order to facilitate the reuse. Again, the same parameters we have to be identify. That how I can reuse this thing, in which parameter, complexity wise, implementation wise, nature wise, what I can do. Then data flow diagram, which was not discussed yesterday. Let me come here. The purpose of this, where data come from which activity process data and output. So like, let's say this thing in that. So it's combining this two earlier. Now we will be discussing only one. So it is like this. Let me show this thing. This one. This is called the data flow. कि डेटा कहां से कहां फ्लो करेगा और कुछ नहीं. इंसिडेंट में कहां से कहां से कहां से, मतलब these are the high level points. These things. Calculate gross pay, calculate withholding amount, calculate net pay, print pay, all these things will be there. These are the activities. These can be the operations. But for us, it is a kind of a data flow that employee will put hours on the basis that all the things will be taken care. Now, if I come back here, where data come from, which activity process, these are the activities. These things. Process the data, and if output results are stored in or utilized by the another activity. Like incident का output. ये change का output can be incident as well. Change का input can be incident as well. Incident का output can be a major incident as well. So it is simply said that boss, by this particular technique, you are able to draw something from the data flow perspective. So now you can see here. Like simple, when we old in the 4th, 5th, 6th class, it was shown us that what is a CPU. CPU is a central processing unit which take input and convert into the output. There is a data flow. Simple diagram we see, right? The basic one like this. डेटा इनपुट करो यहाँ से, सीपीयू के पास जाता है, वो पकड़ता है उसको, उसके बाद आउटपुट करता है. What is it? This is completely data flow. You're not defining that what CPU do in between. You're not discussing about the CPU components. You are just seeing that from where the data is coming and from where the data is going. Definitely the benefit is that, so now like this, you can see more ground level पर your down notations. That was, this is a bigger picture. External agent होगा, यहाँ होगा, यहाँ से डेटा प्रोसेस होगा, ये होगा, वो सब चीजें, और यहाँ पे डेटा स्टोर होगा. So it depends that how you want to show the data flow, and sometimes this is be required. Like I'm telling you, in my that agent type implementation project, I asked guys, do you have any kind of a flow diagram on the top? So one of the architects showed me the flow diagram that how this agent type work, and I pick up the inputs from there. कि data कहाँ से आ रहा, where it has been going. Now elements can be external entity, source or sink. You can get the inputs from any of the external parties. Okay, then data store, where actually data is getting stored. So now if I say this element can be differ, if I show you this diagram. For us in the elements, what is the input? Who is the processing? What is the output? The same thing is say data store. कहाँ होगा आपका data store mainly? Who will be the processing? Manual, automation, bot, copy pasting, what it will be done, and how the data flow will be done. So it is easy, and generally we should use this. I'm telling you, if you get stuck somewhere, better try to go for the pictorial representation of your problem statement. Try to build something on these kind of things, so that you should understand that, boss, where I need to be talk about from the technical part if I'm not able to get that part. And generally for the big uh, uh, stories, big implementation, we use this thing. So like I give one example of my current part. Okay, like I said that I'm working as a BA. So we got a lot of requirements from the customer. Few are the smaller one which we can just see with the technical team and it can be done. Few are the bigger one. So what we do, I discuss with my architect on that part. The first step we say, let's break down this bigger task or the bigger requirement into sub requirements. We create 4, 5, 6 new stories for the individual components, like data कहाँ से आएगा, notifications कैसे होंगी, reporting कैसे होगी, workflow कैसे करेगा, so that I can put the things. Then when this requirement has been break down, I put them in a pictorial representation. Start, first is data process होगा, then it go for the workflow process होगा, it go to the notification go to the reports go on ending part. Then I pick up the data part and create something similar. What are the inventories they need? How many inventories they want? So that it is easy for me to understand. Okay, so it is always well said. If you stuck somewhere in your requirement gathering in your solution part, better go for the pictorial representation. It can be process model, it can be data, it can be UML, it can be BPN, anything can be there. Okay, so these are giving the different ways by the other by multiple users like Gain and Saracen. That is their way of representing it. Then you're done. External input data process, data output, data store. Simple. So everybody has their own way of thinking. Like जो models बनते हैं, किसी ने SDLC मॉडल बनाया, किसी ने VV मॉडल बनाया, किसी ने TT मॉडल बनाया, किसी ने स्पाइरल मॉडल बनाया. How they do? They just making the things, researching, and they're making it for you. That was how it will look like, so that you can easily understand the things. Okay, then the usage definitely pictorial. It's good for the represent, easy to illustrate, but limitations. लार्ज स्केल पे इट बिकम अ वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स, क्योंकि यहाँ तो आपको सिर्फ दो ही दिख रहे हैं, ऊपर से हमने देखा, ठीक है. मेथड्स ऑफ ईच पार्टी कैन बी डिफरेंट. Also in this you cannot illustrate the sequence of the activities, ki number 1, number 2, number 3. Now if we see here, it is not mentioned number 1, number 2. So tough to be interpret that was it is starting from here, here or here, where it has been starting. Okay, these are the few drawbacks of this, but on the practical part, yes, it is good to have. Okay, any question till this point?
Atul, UML is still used in organizations?
नहीं
नहीं ना?
नहीं.
क्योंकि Access है, which is easiest one, I think.
Access कौन सा, sorry?
MS Access.
MS Access is mainly kind of a database concept here.
Sorry, MS Visio. MS
Visio. Yes. MS Visio, right? MS Visio. I'm telling you that it depends that what tool your company is using. I worked in a company where they don't have a MS Visio license as well, क्योंकि costly होता है वो.
Correct.
They says go and use the draw.io. That is free of cost. But उसमें drawbacks उस tool के drawbacks क्या हैं कि that is not a good way to make some alignments or some changes quickly. जो Visio में आपका अपने आप हो जाता है. But yes, I used Visio, I used the draw.io, I used the Miro as well. There's a tool called the Miro. Again, that is a freely available. You just log in and create your account and you can use that part. But my recommendation is that at least put one bigger picture of your requirements in a pictorial representation so that you can understand that part. Now, the third technique says that data modeling used to identify data structure that may be similar across this thing. Let me come back here and let's go on the picture part. See, picture is always a good thing. This is called the data modeling. In the data modeling, we try to define this is kind of from a database perspective. We define that what will be the table or the role name, I guess, or the persona name, and what are the attributes there. So like if I pick up this part like this. This thing. Time, product, class, sales, and store. So these are the two types of data modeling, logical and conceptual. This is the logical data modeling. Physical data models as well, like this, where you add few more parameters. This thing. So let's come back for the discussion here. This data modeling has been used by specifically by the CMDB team in ServiceNow perspective, because CMDB team is a team who are using a lot of tables to build the relationship. Server table hai, computer table hai, what are the components they will have and how those are will be related with the other tables. So data model describes the entities, classes, data objects relevant to domain, attributes that are used to be describe them, and then relationship among them to provide a common set of semantics. That is the concept of the data modeling. Three types of data modeling which we just saw. Conceptual means it is just a concept, is independent of any solution or technology, and can be used to represent how the business perceive the information. Okay. It will not give you anything. It will just like this way. If I go here. So this is a conceptual. कि बॉस एक टाइम होगा, एक प्रोडक्ट होगा, इन दोनों को मिला के सेल होगी और सेल्स मेरी स्टोर से इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाएगा. Nothing much in that. No attributes, no integer, nothing will be there. But yes, these relationships are important. This has a symbol. This symbol has some defined meaning in that particular area. Conceptual model depends, runs, used kind of things they will be using. Because if you notice that in this there's a circle, but in this there's no circle. It means it has some different meaning. This symbol has some different meaning. Maybe many to many, maybe one to many. This can be represented by these things. Okay. So it is independent of that what you're storing in that part. Logical is an abstraction of the conceptual model that incorporates the rule of normalization. Normalization is the major concept used in the database. RDBMS, Rational Database Management System. 5 तरह का normalization होता है. अब तो मुझे टॉपिक्स भी याद नहीं है कैसे होता है. But there are 4 or 5 type of normalization in which you do the data normalization कि मैं डेटा ऐसे स्टोर करूं कि रेपिटेशन नहीं होने चाहिए. डुप्लीकेसी नहीं होनी चाहिए. That is the purpose of the normalization. And it is also well said, in the database you cannot bring your data, or I can say you cannot normalize your data 100%. There will be some here and there will be dependency, sorry, duplicacy or redundancy will be always exist. There's a saying in database world, इंश्योरेंस लेना का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप मरोगे नहीं कभी, ये आपके मरने का रिस्क कम हो गया नहीं. The only thing is that if something happened to you, your well ones will get money on behalf of you. That is the purpose of the selling out the insurance policies. Right? So in the same manner, normalization says that the process means the way of storing the data so that there should be minimum redundancy or duplicacy in the data storage part. I'll not go in the depth of this topic, otherwise we will change everything. So logical says that it is the abstraction. इसके ऊपर के बनता है ये, और how it will look like? It will look like this. ये. In the logical, you start putting the major parameters, attributes. डेट का मतलब डेट का डिस्क्रिप्शन होगा, मंथ होगा, मंथ का डिस्क्रिप्शन होगा, ईयर होगा, वीक होगा. प्रोडक्ट का एट्रीब्यूट्स क्या होगा? एक आईडी होगा, प्रोडक्ट का डिस्क्रिप्शन होगा, कैटेगरीज होंगे, ऑल दिस थिंग्स विल बी देयर. दिस इज कॉल्ड द लॉजिकल डेटा सेपरेशन. अब आप बोलोगे अतुल यार एक काम करो ना, स्टोर को इसी में डाल दो कि कौन से स्टोर में पड़ा है, बट इट विल नॉट गिव अ फ्रूटफुल इंफॉर्मेशन. It is complete concept of the database. That is what I'm saying. In ServiceNow area specifically, CMDB use this data modeling because they have a lot of tables where they need to be build those relationship. Physical data model. Implementation subject matter expert to be describe how a database is physically organized. It means if I come down for the last screenshot, it has a type as well, data type as well of each component. If you remember that, if maybe Hitesh has said that he has an understanding of the SQL, find out the user who are working in a department called finance. Select star from employee table, comma department table where employee ID is matching or is equal to the department's, or maybe I can say where department is equal to finance. Now if I put I want only the employees whose name start with the Atul and department dot member name starts with Atul. So now in this case you are building a SQL. In this case you should know that where I can search on which parameter, and you can search if you know the data type of that particular things. Because tomorrow if you say I need to be find out the year, then there should be some integer which can help you to find out the year. You cannot search integer with the string. You cannot search string with the varchar. These are the completely database terms. But in this you can do this attribution. You can do the physical data mapping. I'll show you something on the data model diagram of CMDB. Where I can show a good one like this, you can see. Because in my team, on the CMDB team, people are working on that part. Yeah. सारा कुछ दिखाया लेकिन वो पिक्चर नहीं दिखाई जो मुझे चाहिए थी ये रही. So now you can see this is a data model kind of. We call this as the entity relationship as well, ER diagrams. Like this, it has a attribute. So इसमें पूरा नहीं है अभी. It should be containing the data type as well. But this is something you're building a relationship. That how the configuration item has been related with the land underscore DB object, land underscore DB object, puppet underscore data object, info underscore objects, and how these are related one. It can be one to many. It is one to one, one to many, or dependent kind of things. So CMDB team use this data model to define that which CI, which particular component it depends, runs, used by the other attributes. So in short, if I say that this data model give me a complete clear picture. So it's saying it should have an entity or a class on which you want to build your data model. Either you want to be build on that some kind of a class or some kind of object. Like user is an object. Let's build a data model around that. User has a department, then department is one of the other object. Department has a auditors. Then you have an auditor department in that. What are the attributes you'll be considering here? Because now theory has been left, nothing much. If you understand the picture, then you understand this thing as well. And last, which is important, is called the relationship. How one object has been linked with the other object. This is the purpose of this data model here. Each occurrence is related to minimum and maximum of the entity. It is a type. Then diagrams, see, it come here like, it is called the entity relationship diagram. When you start putting these things, this one, ये, इसका पर्पस है ये one to many, many to many, ऐसे ये इस चीज को इंडिकेट करता है. So remember, in our database class, in my MC, we prepare this entity diagrams as well. And if you understand, now the things are so much change that maybe entity ER diagram is not used in my process flow. I'm using the BPN specifically, but this thing ER diagram has been used specifically in the CMDB team because I saw a big pictures like this. Entity and number 0, 1, only one, any number from 1 to many. So these symbols has a meaning actually, so that you can easily understand here. Okay, like another one you can see. Class 1, class 2. Java अगर आपने पढ़ी होगी तो उसमें classes चलती हैं. So by this way you can see. Someone using this star as well, 0 star 1, just to indicate that what you are saying. Any number must be exactly x, x to y, or 1 to many. And then it comes to the metadata. Means kind of attributes you'll be adding in that particular class, in a particular object, is become the metadata for me. In this case, if I talk, these are the metadata. These objects, attributes are the metadata for me, like this way. Benefits, yes, pictorial representation है, easy to easily understandable. I say understandable logically, physically आप check कर सकते हो कौन सी चीज कैसे related है. But demerits क्या है? अगर more objects, more classes will be there, then it is tough to be understand how the relationship has been built. Data will be duplicate because in every class you are using few of the common attributes, which can create a problem for the understanding perspective. But being a BA, I did not use this as of now. I use only the process flows, BPNs I use, VCO I use, but not this particular data objects. ठीक है, clear यहाँ तक? चलें आगे.
Yes, Atul. That's clear.
Document analysis, we already see that how to do, what to do in the document analysis part. the previous document. Functional decomposition, yesterday we saw to break down your requirements in a subsets so that we can go that part. Process modeling, I guess this one also we discussed, but let's take a quick look. Now let me come here on the process modeling part. This is what we discuss here. Flow from one to new to an from it is not a data or it is not a flow chart. It is a process modeling. You are making a process by using the components like this. It can be look like your flow chart, but it is not like that. When you go for a specific business process, then you start using these words as well, these symbols as well. On the overall picture, if I say yes, it is a process model. The flowchart is a process model for me. But if I talk from the business process perspective, then it becomes like this for me. Who are the users of the swim lane you can put, then these symbols are going to be used. सिर्फ representation का फर्क हो जाता है. If I say ultimately concept is the same, आपको पिक्चर में सब कुछ बना के दिखाना, that is the only thing which we want to be show here. Then use case and scenarios and user stories. Use case and scenarios are describe how a person or system interact with the solution being modeled. Now, I want, let's say there's a one guy reach out to me. Atul, I want to do the BA training from you. My first question will be why? What you want to achieve by doing this particular training? What I'm doing, I'm checking his use case. He says, I'm 20 years experience, I'm working in this domain, I want to build my career like this, prana. I said, sorry, boss, I cannot help you because your use case is not valid. You already working in the industry for a long time, you already have this knowledge, then why you want to do this part? Sorry, it is not a valid use case. ये सिंपल सी बात है बॉस, मुझे घर में बाइक लेनी है. मुझे अगर if I want to buy a bike, I need to put a good use case. इससे किसको क्या benefit होगा? 100% benefit is mine only. But still, to put the things on the paper or on the table, I have to build a use case as well. It is not a business case. It is a use case. That why this is be required. Again, one of my customers says, I want to implement one more approval level in the change management. I said, why you want to do that? But what is the benefit you will be getting? He says, Atul, by doing this part, we are able to track the changes more accurately. And it will save our cab timings. Because nowadays people are bypassing the steps and they're not going to the cab meetings. But we want to put a specific approval so that it should go for the cab or should be approved by the higher management. That is a valid use case. So by considering that use case, understanding their business benefits, understand their business value, then I start working on the development part. Maybe for you, it is not a valid use case, but for a business, it is a valid use case. I have a lot of interaction. I have a lot of discomfort, what I can say, communications, conversations, where I am agree, but my tech lead said, no, I'm not happy with this use case. I said, be practical. He said, that's fine. I'm practical here, but it's still I'm not be agree that why they want this. They can use some other way, but I don't want to be go for new development for them. And you as a BA has a full rights to say this thing that boss, it is not a valid business use case. In the use case, always remember that what are the business benefit the other party is getting. That is much more important. If they are able to justify the business value, then they won the half war. If they're not able to justify the exact business need, then you will not pick up that requirement. Okay. And what scenario say? Scenario describes just one way that an actor can accomplish a particular goal. कि बॉस मेरा सिनेरियो क्या है कि मुझे वहां पर जाके उस बटन पे क्लिक करना, चेंज ट्रिगर हो जाना चाहिए. That is scenario. In the use case, we have the multiple scenarios, but a scenario specific set. अच्छा ये बताओ, जब आपके पास अप्रूवल आता, then what you do? That is one scenario. But in the use case, I need the change approval button or change approval workflow updated so that I can track all these things. But all the things in the cab, who approved, who raised, who requested, who did this plan. So we can use the use case here. And it is very common, very common technique, specifically when you go for the requirement gathering. Because customer says, boss, I hired you because I want to develop this, want a development on this part. But when they hire you, you should prove that you have a capability. When I joined my one of the project, okay, I start discussing with my stakeholders and I start cutting them in the requirement gathering. Guys, no, this is not the right way. This is not be required in service now. It can be done by this way as well. Then one day, my PO says, Atul, I am happy that you will be participating in this call. Your inputs are very valuable. I said, definitely yes, it should be very valuable because you guys don't have a knowledge of the system or the service now. You are from the business perspective. You hired me because you think that I'm the best fit, I'm the best knowledgeable guy for you to provide that things. And now if you're not agreeing on my recommendations, then there's no purpose that I should work in your project. Just for the sake कि आप बोलो ऐसा होगा, ऐसा नहीं होता. I have expertise, I have a knowledge, then you should respect my knowledge, respect my things, and I'm putting something in front of you. That can be different, that business don't want, or the way of working is something different in your project, in your account. But you should listen me, and he was agree on my concepts. Yes, we hired you for that purpose only. Because business knowledge हमें है, but हमें service now का knowledge नहीं है. So it is like a use case part. So generally when I go for the requirement discussions, a major requirement, I first put, what is the use case for this? Tell me what you want to be achieved via this. Then other person, the stakeholders start giving me the case by case details. I do this thing, I do this thing, I do this thing, all are the manual. Now I want to be automate. I agree, yes. It's a valid use case now. Now they click on the 3 buttons to generate a report. And that is again in the Excel sheet. They want me to automate that report in the service now. Valid use case because they are saving their time. They're moving from Excel to in a tool now. Okay, so this is the use case is very much important. Either you're working as a developer, either as you're working as a business analyst or any of the role, you should know this thing. मम्मी हमें घूमने जाना, हमारे दोस्त आ रहे हैं कल लंच पे. मम्मी क्या पूछती है, क्यों आ रहे हैं भाई, बर्थडे कोई, एग्जाम पास हो गए, पेपर खत्म हो गए, छुट्टियां शुरू हो गई. What she is asking? She is asking a use case. क्यों आ रहे हैं? Because she know if friends are coming, she has to make a food as well, to make arrangements as well. So now if you see that this technique is not a very new for us, it is very old in our blood, I can say. घूमने जाना है, क्यों भाई? Generally when there's a trip has been organized by school, we say, पापा मुझे घूमने जाना है, ट्रिप पे जाना है, क्यों? Correct? Right? So these are the, what is this? These are the use cases. Buy क्यों चाहिए? Use case बताओ मुझे. आप यूज केस बनाते हो फिर उसका बिजनेस केस बन जाता है कि हाँ भी लड़का बात तो सही कह रहा है, फंडिंग कौन करेगा इसकी. यूज केस में फंडिंग नहीं होती, बिजनेस केस में फंडिंग आती है. ओके, so I don't want to go these things now in depth, but how a use case will be look like. So this is a one statement. In the one statement, actor 1, actor 2, and these are the use cases that we want to be doing the system. Extend करो, include करो, and finally output दे दो.
Pratul, use cases it is just for gathering the information.
Gathering the purpose of that requirement.
Purpose of the okay.
मतलब there's a concept ना, why, who, what. That is why
Yes.
you want. Yes. Because for the customer everything is required. There was a discussion going on in approximately 2 years or 3 years back. I was in a project. Okay, the requirement came from the customer is that I want that my user should be able to raise a change from the service portal as well. I said, good idea. Give me the use case. I want to save a license cost. Okay, what else? Want to give a good user experience. Okay, I agree. License is a good thing. I agree with the use case. Okay, then the question come, what fields you want on the portal? And now when the customer says, I want each and every field which is available in the native view on the portal as well, I surrender my case. No. If you want to duplicate the things, then why not you put some costing and go for the licensing part and ask your user to do the changes or raise the changes from the native view itself. So these things happen. On the first point I was agree, but when the requirement came, I said no. 60-70 field you want me to bring it again on the portal. It's 100% duplicacy. In this case, you're not saving the cost. You're increasing your maintenance cost. So I'm not happy to go with this. Either refine your way of fields on the portal, either use the native view only. Okay, so these are the techniques. So in this, these are the points which have to be triggered specifically. I definitely don't want to be going in the depth now, because use case is something which you need to be understand from the business, and we are doing this practice for a long time now. We all are married. We three all are married here. If wife says I want to go for the shopping, the first question comes, why? What is the use case? Definitely not directly you can ask why. We say, okay, let's go, but what specific you want to buy? Any function is coming. So it is a use case you are be asking. अभी 2 महीने पहले तो हम शॉपिंग पे गए थे, तुम लेके आए, शादी थी. Now why you want it again? Correct? So use case is one of the another technique which we use in the maintaining part. And then finally the user story. User story is the last step in our agile, I can say. Last तो नहीं बोलूंगा, इसके नीचे भी होता है, टास्क होते हैं इसके नीचे भी. So it says when you break down your requirement up to that ground level where a person from the class 7th, 8th, 9th or 10th also can read and say what he need to be do. This is called the user story. Building a portal is a big user story. When I divide, I as a user, I want when I log in into a portal and enter my username and password, I should be able to log in if my password is correct. This is a user story I'm talking. मतलब उसको इतना छोटा बना दो, इतना ब्रेक कर दो कि उसके आगे कुछ डिफाइन नहीं हो सकता, ठीक है ना। तो that is called the user story, and this concept is came from the agile. In agile methodology, we are using the user story specifically. A user story is typically a sentence or two that describe who has a need addressed by story, goal is trying to be accomplished, and any additional information. So in the agile format, how we write a story as a what type of user you want. So like I worked in ITBM project for one of my financial clients. So I say, as a financial manager, I want to see a report which includes OPEX number, CAPEX number, budget allocated and budget available, so that I can track that how much budget has been left in which particular department. This is my user story. अगर मैं ये वाली स्टोरी, अगर ये मैं जो वर्ड्स मैंने बोले हैं, अगर मैं ये किसी 11th 12th पास आउट को दिखाऊंगा, he can understand कि बॉस इसमें कहना क्या चाहते हो. And if he is able to understand कि इसमें कहना क्या चाहते हो, then your developer can understand this part. This is one of the core activity of a business analyst nowadays, to writing the stories. One thing. Okay. So if you want to understand this user story, I'll prefer you can go through some of the agile documentation. But in short, the user story has a title, statement of value. This is what we discuss. Who want, what he want, and why he want. Want to go on the shopping. My wife says, want to go on the shopping. Who is the user? My wife. What? Want to go on the shopping. Why? Because there is a marriage in the home next month and she need to be attend that marriage. So that is the reason she want to go for the shopping. So this is the format which we use. As a I need, so that. These three should be accomplished in your user story. Otherwise, it will be not accepted. And every user stories have a acceptance criteria. When you say yes, this has been done. When your wife purchase a dress from the shopping, then you say yes, shopping has been complete. Or that particular day shopping has been complete. अगर कुछ नहीं लेके आएंगे तो आपको हर पूरे अगले हफ्ते तक सुनना पड़ेगा. कुछ नहीं मिला, कुछ नहीं मिला, कुछ नहीं मिला, कुछ नहीं मिला. Right? So these 4 points are important in the user story. But user story means a smallest breakdown of a requirement. वो चीज है. मतलब कि कई बार क्या होता है कि इसमें आप इतना ब्रेकडाउन कर देते हैं कि इट इज लुक लाइक यार ये तो एक ही स्टोरी में सारा काम हो जाना चाहिए. बट इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. ठीक है. नाउ लेट मी कम बैक हियर. Okay, so we're done with the techniques. Then the stakeholders, we know that who are the stakeholders involved here. Domain means, see, stakeholders is almost same in each and every technique. Few are here and there will be change, but at last it is be complete. And what are the outputs I'm be getting here? My requirements are getting maintained and my designs are getting maintained here. Now, any question, any doubt here? Anyone?
No other.
I'm okay, Atul.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So let me stop the class here now because the new topic is little lengthy. Okay, and we'll take attendance now. Let me stop the recording first.